Previously on One Tree Hill.
Greetings, Starfighters. Welcome to Mad Science Films. I'm Jimmy P, filmmaker and sexual astronaut. First up, guys, please check out our fourth feature film for free over on YouTube. Just search for Little Monster or click on the link in the show notes below. This episode, I'm joined by a very special guest, Mr. Terry Cooper, director of Off-World, and soon to be the director of his second feature film, Bloody Students. Terry, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, and thank you for having me. Again, like I say, the film fans are... again, I don't want to say more valuable or better than the casual, genre fans or whatever, but the film fans are more willing to be more forgiving because they know what's involved. They'll see a guy running down the street and they won't go, okay, it's a guy running down the street. He doesn't run very well. They'll go, I wonder how many takes that took, or I wonder how long it took to clean cordon off that stretch of road, because they've got a slightly better involvement of what goes on behind the camera and how things are done. And with Bloody Students now, it's obviously I haven't really got sci-fi fans, but a certain amount of sci-fi fans would be into this because it's still genre. It's not a full-on slapstick comedy, but it's not a full-on horror either. To the extent where I'm still wrestling with how much blood and guts to put into it, because I don't want to sort of limit my audience by making it an 18 and having heads getting pulled off every 2 seconds. Like, I haven't seen Renfield yet, but I'm told it's way over the top with the gore, but it's good. It's tongue-in-cheek, so it's that kind of comedy horror anyway, but it's way over the top with the gore. But I, at this point, especially, on only your second film, I don't want to have to submit a film that they go, yeah, this is going to have to be an 18. So there's a lot of people can't watch this. I want to, and I'm not a big believer in peppering the script with profanities anyway. I mean, I do swear in my normal life, and, I do like a well-placed F-bomb and stuff, but I'm probably not going to throw in too many of them. Just because that will push the rating up as well.
Yeah.
And
although, do you know what? As horror, it's one of the few ones where, almost having an 18 is a badge of pride as well.
Sure, a lot of people do. And I think that's because, I know one or two sort of horror directors who are doing like indies and stuff. And because they're all in, they're like, horror's my thing. You can go extreme on gore, you can go extreme on uncomfortable situations and language and stuff. But I'm a little bit more middle of the road. Horror's not my thing. I own quite a few horror movies, but I'm more sci-fi than anything else. And I gravitate towards, I don't think I could have filmed a straight up horror because I'm not that well versed in it. And I don't think I'm that passionate about it as much as I am about comedy, So I think with Off-World was very played straight, like hard sci-fi, like a drama, and it's quite bleak. So I wanted to do something less serious and something a bit more funny, and I gravitated towards the Cornetto trilogy. I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is it tonally similar to, say, Shaun of the Dead then, really?
Well, that's how I explain it to people. There are similarities. Obviously, the color scheme is red and white, but that's a lot of horror films are like that anyway. I'm not trying to ape the Shaun of the Dead thing. I could have used the same font as Shaun of the Dead, which I've seen other films, commercially available films, do.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do that. I didn't want the writing done in like, scratching or, like some kind of scrapey looking thing. I just wanted the big, bold white letters against blood or whatever. But my favorite film, this is going to be a weird take, of the Cornetto trilogy is The World's End.
Oh, yeah, controversial.
I didn't like that film when I first saw it. I went to the cinema with my two flatmates, and they came out, and they love Hot Fuzz to death. Right, Hot Fuzz is like the thing. And to that point, I said Shaun of the Dead was my favorite. And I came out the cinema, and we all like, I don't know, think of that. And I think the main thing was because Simon Pegg's character, Gary King, is not a likable guy.
No.
He's a git. He's a git who just manipulates his mates. But he's quite tragic, and as you find out later on. But even then, I wasn't sure what the what the gimmick of the film was. I was like, you hear it's called The World's End, but you don't know anything more about it going in. And with Shaun of the Dead, you know it's a zombie film. With Hot Fuzz, you know it's cops in a small town. But what's The World's End about? And you know, when you get into the whole smashy smashy Eggman and like even then the concept, I had to watch the film a number of times to work out, oh, because it's a kind of like an invasion, but it's not an invasion. And it's like, I think it's a little bit too not complicated, not like hard to understand, but I think it's a concept that needs explaining to the point where they had to do a scene with Pierce Brosnan sits them down and tells them what's going on.
Yeah.
But what I love, the more I watched that film, the more I got into it, and the more I love it, especially the dialogue. And you know, I'm a big sucker for dialogue and one-liners, and the way you can get comedy out of saying a line that isn't. Simon Pegg's a master at it. He'll go, he'll just do that in the middle of a conversation or something, and it works straight away.
Yeah.
And you can't put that on paper. It's hard to show someone, oh, this will be a funny. I mean, all right, I'm going to pick a random funny line from my script here. One girl says, "I need the Book of the Dead." And the other girl hands her it and says, "Here, well, here's most of it." And from a distance, the boy goes, "Can you just check my name's not in it?" Which, yeah, you know, but anyone, I'm hoping, obviously, anyone, you know, who knows a bit about acting and comedy, they can turn those three lines into a really nice, because it's like Friends. Every joke has got the initial setup, the next bit that follows on from that, and then the punchline, and it's just three lines every time. So that's the same thing. Book of the Dead. Here's most of it. Oh, can you check my name's not in that? You know, but how that could be played a million ways, and hope my job is to try and get the funniest take of that. And Simon Pegg, you know, can take a line like that, and he could say, can you just check my name's not in it?" A bit like when he says to Shaun of the Dead, he goes, "What now? No, cup of tea." You know, and on paper that's not funny. It's just like, what next? Oh, I don't know, cup of tea.
Yeah.
You know, they just add more to it. But one thing I'm really keen to do is like Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg do. They basically say, tell the actors you're not making a comedy film. You've got to play the lines earnestly.
Yeah.
Because the danger is someone might come into it and go, let's do everything like a pantomime, you know. Oh, I'm going to play this for maximum laughs. And it comes across as phony, doesn't it? It's like, you know, it comes across as insincere and hammy.
Yeah.
So you've got to play the truth of the situation like you would with a drama. And when Simon Pegg says, I don't know, cup of tea, it's funny because he's playing it as real as he can, because he's not an action hero. He's, you know, he's just some guy who worked in retail, and all this shit's really confusing. And he's like, I don't know, cup of tea, because he's out of ideas.
Yeah.
And that's playing the truth of the situation. So I'm going to make sure my cast say, you know, say, look, feel free to try stuff, but let's get at least one take in the bag where it's as played as earnestly as possible and truthfully, not dead serious. Because in that line where he says, "Can you check my name's not in it?" he obviously doesn't believe that his name might be in a 6,000-year-old papyrus. But, you know, it's just kind of like, you might say that in real life anyway, but not believe that your name's going to be in there. But I think you can get a giggle out of that depending on how it's played. So
yeah. No, fantastic. Looking forward to it. So, Terry, when are we launching the Bloody Students crowdfunding campaign?
Well, depending on when this podcast goes out, at the time of recording this, it's the 24th of April. We're launching in 7 days on the 1st of May.
Excellent.
So if you're watching this and it's already May, then go over to the link. And
there will be links below.
We're running we're running for the month of May, 30 days. We're setting up all sorts of rewards and stuff. So there's going to be the usual, the t-shirts, the jackets, the badges, video from cast and crew. One of the reward levels is going to be a set visit where you come down with us, watch us filming. If we can squeeze you in as an extra in certain scenes, we will, depending on what we're doing on the day. Get lunch, give you a goodie bag, give you some props from the film, you know, screen use stuff. And I gotta tell you this, had a great idea. I was watching a prop maker on Instagram, and he's a Hollywood prop maker, and he said, "Look what I've got." And he put the camera on the floor, and there was these pools of blood, right? Then he picks them up, and they're wobbly. They're made of silicon, urethane.
Wow. Yeah.
And I've got a friend who makes the silicon masks. I said, "Could you make puddles of blood that you can pick up and drop down? Because it saves you mopping up blood in a venue at the end of the day."
Yeah.
He said, "Yeah, I can make loads of them, no problem." Brilliant. So I've dubbed them bloodles, blood puddles, and we're going to give some of those away. Not huge ones, but decent sized ones as some of the Kickstarter awards.
Excellent.
So you can have bloodles. You can leave them on your kitchen floor and say to the wife, "I'm in a nosebleed. Look, oh my God, you're going to clean that up." So we're gonna do plenty of them. So I'm quite excited about that. But yeah, it's running the whole month of May. Our goal is 10,000. If we don't raise 10,000, no one gets charged.
Mm-hmm.
If we do raise 10,000, we're going to make a good film. If we raise more than 10,000, it'll just get better. And we do have an American distributor, very supportive, very patient, 7 years, ridiculously patient, and willing to, take it on. So it's going to go somewhere. Now, as a result of that, as I said, some of the rewards, none of the rewards will involve you getting a DVD copy of it or getting a link where you can watch it online. But we will, like Offworld, find ways of getting the backers a way to watch it, whether it's a time-sensitive download, not a download, time-sensitive online link, password protected, that kind of thing. Obviously, at the end, if the distributor manages to get it to direct to DVD, then you'll get your DVD because we'll have copies to give away to the backers. But in the meantime, you could still get signed scripts and you can still get video messages from the cast, signed pictures, props, because who knows where this is going to go. If Offworld did what it did on 9 grand and got the attention of an American distributor, Bloody Students is going to build on that.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how much you edit your videos, Jamie, but I'm going to say this bit now, and then we can chop it out if it's not applicable. Two of the really exciting things that have happened in the last week is I've managed to bring in some named actors to play cameos. Now, these actors have agreed in principle, which means if we can raise enough money to pay them, and they're available at the time. And I know at the moment, the second one is currently reading the script. Now, I didn't plan on having any named actors in it, but the main cast of students are all cast. They're all people I know, people I've auditioned, etc. But there are some what I call grown-ups in it. There's the father of Cameron. There's the museum lecturer. There's the caretaker. There's the security guard for the museum. And there's a kind of not failed, but ex TV presenter. So, Tony Robinson, Time Team.
Yeah.
Well, that character is in my film is called Anthony Crusoe. So Robinson Crusoe, Anthony, Tony. So, okay, we've cast an actor who you might not know the name, Paul Putner. Now, Paul Putner is a London actor who is best known for, he was on a comedy show on BBC called This Morning with Richard Not Judy, and he played like a curious orange. They made him up as an orange, but he played a zombie in Shaun of the Dead. He played a taxi driver in Shaun of the Dead, but that was in the deleted scenes. He was in almost every episode of Little Britain. He was in Spaced. He was in Time Gentlemen Please with Al Murray, which, by the way, is where I got Bloody Students from. One of Al Murray's many catchphrases. And he's recently been in Downton Abbey. He's like that with Edgar Wright and Sean and Simon Pegg. I got hold of him via Twitter, and then I spoke to his agent. I sent him the script. He had a read of it. He called me and said, "Oh, this is really funny. This is fizzes along nicely." He said, "I in principle, you can mention me on the Kickstarter. That I'm very interested in this, and if all goes well, I'll do the cameo in that role." So that's the one. The second one, I offered them 2 roles. One is a got 5 or 6 lines as the museum lecturer who ends up giving the creepy caretaker a piece of their mind, a bit of a serious career advice. And the other one was just like a school teacher at the very epilogue of the film gets 1 line. And they picked the one with the most lines in, and that's Sophie Aldred from Doctor Who.
Wow.
I contacted her agent. First thing she said was, "Can we see the script? What's it involved? When do you look at shooting it?" And I said, "Look, well, I've got these 2 roles. If she can just come in for a day, say 1 line and go, fine. Or she wants to do the slide." She goes, "Sophie would rather do the bigger part." I was like, "Okay, right." Again, it's in principle. Can we afford her? Can she be available? She's currently in Australia at the moment. She's doing a tour of Comic Cons in Australia. Her agent originally said she'll be back in the middle of May, so you'll know then. But the next day I got a phone call and she said, yeah, she's up for it. I'm like, and again, we're not talking Tom Cruise and Nicolas Cage here, but for our little film, 2 people who have got a reasonably decent following. Paul is interesting. He's got that face. You see him and you go, oh, that guy, he's in everything.
Yeah.
But you say the name, people go, who? But again, amazingly chuffed to have him on board. I don't know how big your viewership is, James, on this podcast.
Facebook, we're pretty healthy. YouTube, not so much with these. I have no idea why.
Right. Well, there's reasons for this, which I'll have to explain to you once we're off air.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have another actor who is, you won't know the name unless you see a photo of him, but he was in Shaun of the Dead. And that's all I can say. That's all I can say, because he wants to keep his profile very low. Mm. But again, if he gets time to come down and do his little bit, people will spot him and go, oh, that guy. Not a big part, admittedly. But again, like Paul and like especially Sophie Aldred, you'll see their faces and go, oh wow.
Yeah.
And there's one character which is Cameron's father, who I've approached a number of pretty well-known actors, and we've had possibles from a couple of them. Not as invested as, I'm up for this. If you can afford me and I can make it, I'm in. Mm-hmm. More kind of, let me know how it goes and get back to me in a couple of months' time. So, but I've got a couple of, especially one really big name who everyone's going to know. So, again, can we afford them? Can we keep their interest, and can we bring them in? Can they free up the time on the day? Because telling an actor who's based in London or America to go, do you want to come to South Wales to a community centre? It's a big ask.
Yeah.
But you never know. So.
Yeah. Best of luck, Terry. So really looking forward to that.
Cheers.
Would you do us the massive favor of, say, joining us again in a year? We can have a catch up again, see about Offworld and the release, and obviously where we are with Bloody Students.
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, if I'm not sleeping on a pavement somewhere, but as long as I've got Wi-Fi, hopefully it'll go better than that. But yeah, I'd love to, because follow-ups are actually really cool, because I've done a couple of podcasts with another guy who's a filmmaker, and we've done 2 podcasts 6 months apart. And it's really interesting to see how much you've done in that time, and it helps him pull his socks up. It helps me pull my socks up. And it also it explains to the viewers and people who are watching, seeing how much or how little gets done, and just watching these things evolve over time. Like I say, I'm right on it's a really interesting time for me, because the first film has gone to the States, but we've had no more news. Mm-hmm. The second film is about to start, especially with the Kickstarter. So there's lots of stuff about to explode and go off. It's just I'm just running into a fireworks factory with a bare flame, and you're like, guess what? Stuff's gonna blow up. So who knows? I can't wait.
Fantastic. Thank you, Terry. Really appreciate that. Thank you for all your time today as well. We will drop links to the Bloody Students Kickstarter below. And yeah, obviously we'll also be sharing it all on the socials as well.
Mummy Movie May.